Jill Lewis Dagg, who is the Okaloosa County State Committee woman. And of course, you'll be watching this on WBQP TV, our Facebook page, Fire Stick, Roku, and YouTube, and other apps on this great platform. But we'll go right to Jill Daggs.
Well, thank you
I
so
didn't say
much.
Jill Scott, did I?
I know. Sometimes he says I'm Jill Scott, but I'm not. But I'm just Jill Daggs. So welcome everybody. We're glad that you are joining us this evening. As you have been watching, we have tried to make sure that you have different candidates from across the state. And tonight we have a treat for you. We have Representative Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, who's running for Senate. And I'm going to hand it over to her, let her tell you who she is, why she's running, tell us a little bit about her, and then we'll start with questions. Thank you so much and welcome.
Good evening, Jill. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Bill, Derek, all of you for having me tonight. I've been looking forward to having this conversation. For those of you that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Debbie Mucarsel-Powell. I am a mom. I have 3 kids. I live in South Florida. I live in Miami. I was elected in Miami. I'm a former congresswoman back in 2018. And I'm running to defeat Rick Scott in November and become Florida's next U.S. Senator. And, you know, I've been present in my community for so long. And for the past 2 years, I was traveling across the state doing a lot of work with Giffords, the Giffords Foundation on gun violence. And I realized as I traveled how much families across the state were struggling. People here in the state have been struggling for too long. Opportunities that I had that have brought me here in front of you tonight are being stripped away from our children. There are so many seniors that are now being forced to go back to work because they can't afford to pay their property insurance rates. I had conversations with students at FAMU that are really concerned that they not only can find a good paying job, but they can't afford to pay for their rent. And when you have in the Senate, Rick Scott, someone who oversaw the largest Medicare fraud in the history of this country, who used that money, over $64 million of that money to buy his Senate seat, he has no idea what it's like for a single mom who right now is struggling to make ends meet, or for families across the state that are really considering leaving the state because they can't afford to live here. I am the product of a single mom, someone who came here to this country when I was 14, looking for opportunities for freedom, knowing that she wouldn't be able to provide those opportunities in my teen. And I watched my mom wake up really early in the morning. She had 2 jobs. She worked 12-hour shifts just to make sure that she could create a better life for me, bringing me here. And I started working at the age of 15. It was a minimum wage job at a donut shop. I worked through high school. I did all sorts of jobs, as you can imagine. I was very fortunate to be able to get a scholarship at that time when those opportunities were available. And because of my mom, because of her hard work, because of the hard work of so many people that believed in me, I was able to graduate from college. I was able to get a master's degree. I actually became the associate dean at FIU at the medical school in Miami. And so many people would think that somebody like myself would not be able to reach that potential and ultimately get elected to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives. But I always had that pulse with my community. I was very much in touch with our community in South Dade, in Homestead, in Kendall, because I had been working to expand access to healthcare to underserved areas. And that's one of the main reasons why I ran in 2018. I was married, I had kids. I never thought that I was going to get into politics, not at all. I was a volunteer, like so many of you, probably helping in campaigns, very civically engaged, but I never for a million years thought that I could run. But it was community that told me that it was my time to step up and do something at a higher level to make a difference to this community. And so I did. And no one knew who I was. So I was dismissed as being this person. Where did she come from? What's going on? I was running against a very popular Republican incumbent at the time, But I knew what the community could do if we worked together and if we believed. And so I ended up beating him by 2 points. I served on the Judiciary Committee in Congress. I had the honor of serving alongside John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, who I became close to, who I always sought advice on some very difficult moments when I was in the House of Representatives, serving under the former president. I also served in the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee because I know how important it is for us to make sure that we bring funding for water projects, that we protect our environment. And so I am now following that call that I have inside of me again, because I want to continue to do the work for the entire state. Our state is suffering. Our tax, our civil rights, our freedoms are under attack. And so it's time that we finally make people here in the state believe of what is possible when we work together for this win. The Panhandle specifically has not had a Democrat represent them in too long. And just imagine what we can do if we make that happen. And so I'm excited to be with you tonight, and I hope I can earn your support through this process. There's a lot of work that we need to do, but we can do it, and we can win this race in November.
There.
You make mention of you served under the former president. Which one was that, ma'am?
Oh, former President Trump in 2018 through 2021.
So I know you talked about, you hit healthcare a little bit. What would you do as a senator to make sure healthcare is expanded, like Medicare and Medicaid expanded here in the state of Florida?
Yes, Jerry. So one of the things that I did actually when I was in the Senate is I wrote a bill that passed that expanded Medicare coverage for seniors. I'm running against a man who actually included in his plan, he wants to eliminate Medicare and Social Security. Rick Scott has a plan to overhaul. I mean, just recently he was quoted in Bloomberg News saying that he wants to do a complete overhaul of these programs that so many seniors, like my mom, worked their entire life to pay into that benefit so that they can actually retire with dignity. And so I want to continue the process of expanding Medicare coverage. Right now, it still doesn't cover dental and optical coverage. I want to do that. One of the things that we did also is look at ways that we can negotiate the prices of medicine. As you know, finally, President Biden, under this administration, was able to put that cap on insulin, which affects Black and brown communities at much higher levels. We need to continue to do that process. Rick Scott wants to repeal that cap on insulin. I mean, I want to make sure that I'm making the contrast, because this is not just, business as usual. If the man gets reelected, he wants to become Senate Majority Leader, and he has a plan. He wants to raise taxes to middle-class families. He wants to eliminate these programs. He will repeal the progress that we've already done, specifically on lowering the price of insulin and so many others. But also we need to protect the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. We know that in Florida, we have the largest number of enrollees here. Over 4 million Floridians get their healthcare through the ACA. Young adults till the age of 26 are able to get healthcare because of the ACA. People living with pre-existing conditions, asthma, diabetes, can get healthcare coverage, affordable healthcare coverage because of the ACA. Rick Scott wants to eliminate it. We need to make sure that we protect it and continue to lower those premiums for families.
Eric, Jill?
Yeah. I want, as far as veterans are concerned, how do you stand? How do you feel that Florida is treating the veterans here?
Veteran community in the district that I represented when I was in Congress. And I did several tours of the VA, and it is unconscionable to me that we expect our young Americans to put on that uniform, to go to war, to go defend the freedoms and the values that we hold so dear. And then they come back from that service and we do absolutely nothing to support them. We have a shortage of mental health professionals. We have a shortage of specialists. I have been having conversations with veterans. We need to continue to provide full funded for their healthcare programs. They need to have better access. They need to have, there are veterans living, for example, in Key West that have to drive 2-3 hours just to get basic healthcare. That's completely unacceptable. We also need to support Gold Star families. There was a bill that I co-sponsored when I was in Congress to support Gold Star families. Rick Scott has refused to support that, and it's to provide those benefits to families. So many families that have been left behind because they have lost their loved ones in service. There's a lot of work, and mental health is a huge issue, not only for veterans, but it's also included for family members, for children of veterans who have served. And so we need to provide that support, whether it's healthcare, also work training skills. How do we bring back these young adults that were serving, for example, in Afghanistan? What type of programs are we setting up for them so that they can get back into the communities, and whether it's studying for a profession that they're interested in studying, or just providing basic work skills? We need to do so much more. And I know that in Florida, we have too many veterans that are being left behind, but it won't be Rick Scott, I can tell you that.
Isn't there a roundtable here in Pensacola with you on Thursday of this coming week as far as a VA roundtable?
I'm having a roundtable, correct? Is that
A veteran? Yeah, that's what I was reading somewhere, that at 3 o'clock this coming Thursday, you're going to be hosting a.
Yes. I believe so. Bill. And if I'm not like saying 100% the time, it's because my schedule.
I understand.
We have a full schedule this week, and but I believe so. Yes, I believe so.
Debbie,
Patricia,
you talked a little bit about some of your priorities, but I'm curious to know what, if elected, your top 3 areas or focus priorities will be once you're elected to the Senate.
So, Derek, one of the first things that I want to do, I have had conversations with other senators about this. We are in this mess right now because we have too many holes in our democracy. Our freedoms, our democracy, our civil rights, they're all in danger. And we need to pass the Voting Rights Act. It's a John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I've been very vocal about making that a huge priority. That should be the first bill that we pass if we get back the House, if we have the Senate, if we keep the Senate and we keep the White House. There should be absolutely no doubt of pausing the filibuster if that's what we need to do, but we need to protect our democracy so that we are not facing the threats that we are right now. The second one I would say is making sure that we protect Medicare, Social Security, the ACA, lowering prescription drug prices. But for me, it's economic opportunities. And how do we bring those to our communities, local communities, whether it's direct financing for entrepreneurs, for small businesses, whether it's continuing to support HBCUs or other institutions here in the state of Florida. There are a lot of things that we need to do to lower property insurance rates. The affordability crisis that we're facing here is pricing people off their home. And there's a bill right now that's in the House, but there's no companion in the Senate, and that I would like to introduce to make sure that we lower property insurance rates by at least 25%. And at the same time, bring businesses and business investments here that will provide good paying jobs, right? We talk a lot about inflation. We're not talking about what are we going to do to get salaries, annual pay, whatever it is, hourly pay to the level of inflation. And so there's a lot of work that we need to do. The one thing that we have to stop doing is dividing us with culture wars, with pegging one community against another. I'm so done with that. And I know that Floridians are done with that too. We need to come together. We need to bring unity to our state, be proud to be a Floridian, and be proud to lead in solar energy, in small business innovation. I was in Tampa recently, and they're trying to do this tech conference there where they can bring entrepreneurs and provide financing for young adults that have innovative ideas. I mean, let's talk about that, and let's get excited about building a better future for everyone here in the state.
Miss Newcastle Powell, our Facebook stream, Miss Patricia Turner Jefferson asked, What are your thoughts on Project 2025?
Oh Lordy is my first thought when I think about Project 2025. It is a manifesto of hate, of racism. It's a manifesto of a dark future for America if they get into power. They want to completely dismantle the Department of Education. How are our children supposed to have opportunities to learn? I am a product of funding from the Department of Education. And I know NFIU and many of the state universities, by the way, get hundreds of millions of dollars from the Department of Education. They want to eliminate benefits for veterans. You were talking about veterans right now, Bill. They want to completely eliminate that. They're attacking law enforcement, the largest law enforcement agency in this country, the FBI. They call it corrupt. They want to get and what it does by taking away a lot of these, the funding for a lot of these institutions is it concentrates the power on the executive, on the presidency. This is a country that has three equal branches of government. We have the executive, we have Congress, which is the House and the Senate, and we have the judicial. And that's what's made this country so strong. We need to protect the separation of powers. We need to protect our democratic institutions. Look, this has not been a perfect country, right? We've seen a lot of challenges. We have faced enormous challenges in our country, but at least it has been the strongest democracy that has survived for over 200 years, where so many people, like my mom, were able to come here looking for safety, for opportunities. We cannot and we must not allow these people who have a dark view of what America should look like take control of our government.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a question, and we probably should have asked this maybe first. For some of our viewers that might not understand what the senator actually does, can you share with them what roles? Because often we throw a lot of stuff at you that you might not be able to actually fix and do. Can you share with us what actually a senator does and can do for us?
Yeah, Jill, and you know, so much, I've been talking a lot about this because I feel like the media overall concentrates only on the top of the ticket, the presidency, which is incredibly important because it sets the tone of what happens with policies that are enacted in Washington, D.C. But people are forgetting the incredible power and the impact that Congress has. The House and the Senate are in charge of writing laws for this country. So if we want to protect women's rights, if we want to protect voting rights, that comes from Congress, nobody else. If we want to fund the Department of Education, the funding, the budget for the government, that comes from Congress. So the biggest responsibility that we have is making sure that we every year appropriate funding for all the different agencies, which include FEMA, okay? The funding for FEMA comes from Congress. The funding for the Department of Education comes from Congress. The Department of Justice comes from Congress. FBI is under the Department of Justice, right? So that funding and the power that Congress has, which we did a lot of when I was in Congress, is oversight. So you are making sure that the funding that you're sending to these agencies they're good stewards of that funding, that there's no fraud, for example, that they're following the appropriate policies, right? So the president, actually, the executive is not as strong as Congress. And I remember when we were having a lot of conversations when I was there, it's like the House and the Senate are Article 1 of the Constitution. We're the ones that hold the line many times when, you know, whether it was a former president bill that we're talking about or a future president that wants to take control and power, it is Congress that can limit those powers of the presidency. That's why this race is so important. That's why we have to beat Rick Scott, because the Senate majority runs through Florida, and I know that we can beat him.
Also, talk about the confirmation component of the Senate as well.
Yeah, and Jerry, that must be one of the most important jobs that senators do. So the president will appoint Supreme Court justices, but it is the responsibility of the Senate to confirm those Senate justices. So we've been hearing a lot about the Supreme Court and all the cases that have been coming up in front of the Supreme Court. We just heard recently that the Supreme Court is protective with immunity, that any president, when in office, if acting under an official act, can be protected under the law completely. So it basically creating a king or a monarch, and that was the whole reason for creating the United States of America. We were trying to get away from the monarchy, if you remember. So we need to make sure that we don't go back to that. And so in the Senate, we have the responsibility to go through hearings, to hear these individuals that are being appointed by the executive, by the president, to see if they're worth serving lifetime appointments to serve this country. And the former president appointed the two most conservative justices that we now have in the Supreme Court, and that is why we're now hearing these cases. They are trying to take away, for example, the power from states to regulate gun safety. And when I was at Giffords, the Giffords organization was fighting some of these cases legally because they talk about leave it to the states, but not as it pertains to gun safety, right? They want to take control and take those safeguards away. So that's why it's so important to have the right elected officials that are going to protect the safety and the overall well-being of the public at large. I think that we're forgetting that these elected officials serve the people. They shouldn't be serving themselves like Rick Scott, that's using that seat to enrich himself. They need to serve the people. That is why we have to come out and vote and take that power away from these politicians.
I am curious. You mentioned, we talked a little bit about your willingness or desire to codify or make sure we pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Up until last week, I would have thought that was the biggest threat to our democracy. Can you talk about whether or not you feel that, or, with the recent Supreme Court decision, do you have another thought? And if so, if it's different, what do you think our remedies should be as a nation to help resolve the issue?
Well, the importance of the Voting Rights Act, Derek, is that it will eliminate these gerrymandered maps that we're living under in the state of Florida. Florida is not a red state. Florida is a gerrymandered state. It's a voter suppressed state. And so I still believe it's one of the most important things that we can do. But the importance here, Derek, is that we have to make sure that we win congressional seats so that we can take back the House and that we win the Senate. We cannot lose the Senate so that we can hold that line despite of what happens at the top of the ticket. There's so much talk about the top of the ticket. Let's talk about how we can hold that line so that we don't allow, this degradation of democracy to continue, right? So I still believe that the Voting Rights Act should be the first bill that passes through. And listen, I'm somebody that when I say something, I mean it, Derek. And when I get elected, I'm calling it right now. When I get elected in November, you will hear me having press conference. You will hear me on the Senate floor calling for the Voting Rights Act to come to the floor so that we can pass it.
The Voting Rights Act that was passed in the 60s, it had two components that was very powerful, which was Section 4 and 5 of the Voting Rights Act, where the pre-clearance, before anybody could move a polling place or shut down anything, I'm just throwing this out there, I think most people don't realize how important Section 4 and 5 was of the Voting Rights Act. So reinstating that would definitely help to make sure that they are not able to gerrymander districts out of the where most people cannot vote in their for the candidate that they want.
Exactly. And look at what happened just a couple of years ago. They drew an incredible congressman, Al Lawson, out of his seat. And that was pure gerrymandering. They are making, they're choosing the representatives for the people, not the other way around. It should be the voters and the people that choose their representatives. And they're doing that all over the state. They've already done it. They're doing it in local races as well, Jerry. They're really slowly chipping away at our civil rights here in this country.
And I know you've talked about that Project 2025 a little bit, but that's something I think that everybody needs to at least look at and read, because it's a position paper. It's not just something that's thrown out there. That's a position paper for if Trump happened to win, for his administration.
Yes, and they've made it very clear. I mean, and if you look at Rick Scott's 12-point plan for America, there are a lot of similarities with that Project 2025. So please, if you're watching this, go check out Project 2025, but also check out Rick Scott's 12 plan for America, where he wants to raise taxes on you. While you're watching this, I'm telling you, he wants to raise taxes. He wants to eliminate all these programs that have allowed our seniors to retire with dignity. And he wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act. I mean, there are all these things. Also cut funding for education. And he did it when he was governor. If you remember, he made significant cuts to education when he was governor. He took away a lot of benefits for workers. He was cutting pensions for workers. He's not someone that's ever going to side with the majority of Floridians, workers and families. He really is just looking out for himself.
So did he want Medicare and Medicaid to sunset in 5 years, or was it Social Security? One of them, I can't remember.
All of it, all legislation, all legislation. And he refused to expand Medicaid. So there was a way when I was in Congress during the pandemic, we were able to provide, to pretty much force these governors to have funding for Medicaid because of the pandemic. And of course, you saw what just happened recently in April. DeSantis didn't renew that funding. And so we had over 500,000 children who lost healthcare coverage because they lost Medicaid. And there's so many problems with the way that Medicaid, for you to apply to be covered, because you have to be at a certain poverty level to qualify. But there are all these families that are not middle class, that are right above the poverty level, that don't have a chance. And so we have to do a lot. It's going to require people that are serious about solving these issues, that will sit down with anyone, right? I mean, I did a lot of work with Republicans when I was in Congress. Francis Rooney, we didn't have a whole lot in common, but we wrote a bill together that protected coral reefs. He really cared about the reefs. We have to find ways to come together with people that want to solve these problems so that we can create a better future. I truly believe we can.
So I'm going to share, just because you guys brought this up, I'm on disability. And when you have disability, it only covers you. It doesn't cover your children. And Jenna was born, my daughter, when she was born, she was really, really sick. So she was able to get on, I think it was Title VIII, but it's a CMS. And she stayed on it till she turned 21, and then COVID hit, and she was able to extend that. And then as soon as he made that decision for Florida, it started in January. So we got the letter, they're going to kick you off on her birthday. Her birthday was March. And we wanted to apply for her to extend it. She couldn't extend it. And then when we tried to apply for Medicaid, they told her she could only make $200 a month. $200 a month. And I was like, you mean a week? And they were like, no, a month. So and just imagine, and that's one person, but just imagine families that just sit, like, I could never understand, but they don't look at the loopholes is what I would say. There's so many loopholes of families. Like you have your statistics of the families that we know, and then there's those that are in that loophole that people have no idea. She was fortunate she was able to get Obamacare and afford it. But it just was a very, very difficult, very stressful situation. And it's something that he could have easily, between him and Gates and DeSantis and all of them, they could have fought for us, but they didn't. So
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you to what you're saying and hope that you will always fight for our children and for our communities and those that must have insurance. But in the Panhandle, where we don't see most of our legislators, if Gates comes, it's because he's doing some party for whoever and not for us. How can they relate to what can you tell them you'll do for them that's different than what we've seen? Because we're asking our community to come out, to vote, to get engaged, that this is critical, and we're bringing wonderful candidates like yourself to them. But I need them to really understand and feel like they're not just casting a vote, that they're casting a vote for someone who's going to be there for them. So can you kind of share what you will do for this community?
Well, I mean, I would start by saying that, you know, I watched my mom. My mom now lives with me, and I watched what she did all those years working 12-hour shifts. And I started working, like I said, when I was 15, and I didn't stop. I've never stopped working. So I understand the struggles that people are facing. I really do. I have conversations with my sisters about the struggles that they're facing living here in the state of Florida. The struggle continues. And just because of that, just making sure that people understand that I know what it's like and that I relate to a lot of those frustrations, whether it's not being able to get a good doctor when you need to, whether it's going to the pharmacy when one of my kids gets you know, something from the doctor. I go to the pharmacy and it's not covered by the insurance, and they're asking me to pay $200 for a cream. And, you know, I live through that every day. I'm always looking at the prices in the grocery store, and I'm much luckier than many people, right? I mean, but I understand what's happening here in the state. And what I can tell you is I've always been present, Jill. I was present before I was elected to serve in Congress. I was very much ingrained in the community. I was present while I was in Congress. If you speak with anyone down in my area, my doors were always open for constituents. And when I came back, I was all over the place. You can even go and look back at where I was at when I would come back from Washington, D.C. My doors are always open and will continue to be open because I serve the people. Like I said before, I don't feel like this is a title for myself. This is a job. It's a job that I have a huge responsibility to making sure that I provide for the people the changes that they deserve to have a better life for themselves, for their children, for their parents. And so I make that commitment to you. You know, the state of Florida is huge, right? That's always the challenge. And I remember when my dear friend Val was running, I remember that it was tough for her because she had to be in DC voting also. So it's a matter of making sure that you have someone that knows that you need to be present all over the place. But, you know, my commitment is I'm going to have my doors open no matter what. One of the things that I did is I would have Zoom calls with leaders of the community to hear from them what they needed so that I can focus on those issues. I had a youth advisory council when I was in Congress, and I would talk to young students all over the district, Keys all over Miami, to hear what they wanted me to focus on, talk about that so that I would look at bills that I would look into that we could introduce, or if there was already an existing bill that I could push forward. I mean, that's the type of work and that's the type of senator that I promise I will be, because it's just ingrained in me that I take this extremely seriously. It's a huge responsibility, and I don't take the support lightly. And I'm extremely grateful when I get that support. And once I get up there, my commitment is to you, to every single one of you, regardless of whether you vote for me or not, by the way. There will be people that will vote for the Republican, and you know, it is what it is, but I will serve everyone. I will make sure that everybody's life is better as much as I can. and as much as I can control when I'm up there. But the most important thing is lifting your voices and making sure that all of you are heard, whether it's providing more services for people living with disabilities. My nephew lives with disabilities, so I also understand those challenges and social services and the lack of support that he has right now. Transportation system, right? A basic thing that we should have already solved is still an issue. So we can have more conversations. I would love to hear from more people and their individual concerns, but at this point, we need to come together. And I want people to remember what's possible with your vote. You have the power. You can't sit this one out. If we all come out and vote strongly en masse, nothing's going to stop us. And there are a lot of elections going on outside of this country. Look at what happened in France. They thought the right wing was going to win. They did not. Look at what happened in England. The Labour Party, the party of the people, won. They were tired of the right wing extremism. In Venezuela, they're under a dictatorship. You should go and look at the movement that they've built and all the people on the streets protesting, and the dictator's down. I think that the opponent is up by 60%, and that dictator's down by to 20%. I mean, that's something that we can do if we believe what is possible. Get away from, oh, forget it. Oh, Florida's red. Oh, it's not. No. The power of the people is much more powerful than any special interest, than any money that Rick Scott has. If we come together, we can do this. And I truly believe that.
Very, very refreshing for someone that knows the struggle, that has been there. I personally think that you just think differently when you know the struggles, and you can actually, when you've actually experienced what the common man goes through. And we know that Scott guy came from money. But Ms. Toomer on our Facebook stream says, when you're speaking of the three equal branches of government, she says, and the fourth unofficial arm of the government, the lobbyist.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Oh, that's totally true, everybody. I mean, we need campaign finance reform. We need to get rid of money in politics. That's why we are where we are right now. That's why Rick Scott has that seat, because he used his own money. How is it possible that the man can self-fund and buy a seat? That's basically what he's been doing. 14
Absolutely.
years in government. And yes, I remember, Bill, when I was first elected, and there were all these people that wanted to meet with me, right? And my scheduler would come in, and I'm like, who's this person? And where are they from? And why do they want to meet with me? And it was all the lobbyists that wanted to tell me, just to educate me on their issues. And I'm like, well, I really don't need education on some of these issues. Like, okay, I would still try and hear what they had to say, but you have to have a strong spine. You need to know what you're there to do, right? That's why there's so much corruption. And again, I'm a mom. I was going to DC to get things done. I had no time to waste. I'm not going to go to parties with you. I'm not going to go and, sit down for 2 hours to hear about your particular issue. I was there to get things done. We have to be very careful who we elect and who we send up there. Is it because they're looking for power, for fame, for titles? No. There's no fame or titles when you're in public service. So money in politics is a problem. We need to do much more. And there was a bill actually that we passed, but it didn't go through the Senate because it was a Republican-held Senate. I've been very much, when I look at bills, what's going to be the benefit for the majority of the people that this impacts? If it's only a small group, then you have your answer right there.
Right. I truly believe that most of the people that go to the Hill go with great intentions, but when they get cornered by all of those people that want to tell them how it's done in DC. But I think that the Supreme Court is a prime example of corruption at the highest levels.
I mean, yeah. Don't even get me started there, but yeah.
Citizen United, which allowed all kinds of dark money to come into to the system to corrupt it totally. How will the Senate, can the Senate, I know there was a Supreme Court decision that allowed this, but how can the Senate itself codify into law some kind of way that this cannot happen? The entire Congress.
Yeah, so there was a bill that we passed. It was HR 1 at the time in 2019, if you look it up, and it dealt with campaign finance reform. And so there are things that, there could be limits on spending, there could be matching programs for campaigns, so that people don't, people that come from a working class family that can't self-fund actually have sufficient funding to be able to run a race. There were a lot of different things like allowing voters to register, for example. Well, that's part of the Voting Rights Act, but that we included that as HR 1 as a total package where people could register the same day to vote. But it dealt with a lot of taking away the money from politics.
Okay.
We have 2 guest hosts on. We'll start with Cheryl. Do you have any questions? And then we will move to Christina.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hey, I don't have any questions. I'm just listening in and enjoying what I'm hearing.
Hey, Cheryl.
Hi.
And then we have Christina Forrest, who's the co-host on here with us. She wasn't feeling well, but she joined us anyways. So we are glad that you are here.
I just want to say I am so grateful that you're here on the show. It's super exciting. I'm glad that you're running. If there is one message that you really want us to take back to our communities, what message is that?
We need to take back the power for the people. I truly believe that I want them to remember what is possible. Look, in the state, we were able to elect Barack Obama not only once, but twice, in 2008 and in 2012. It's the same state. It's just under a completely different extreme rule of government. And they have slowly taken away that hope and that energy that we had in the state of Florida. They have been intimidated. They use intimidation tactics to keep people at home. There's a lot of division in the entire country, which also makes people just think that they don't have the power to make any changes. And I think my main message would be to take back that power, to remember what's possible when we work together, to just imagine for one moment what it would be like if we all worked together to win in November and you elect a Democratic senator that's going to be day and night advocating for your family, for your children. Look, I'm not saying that if I get elected in November, by December, all of our problems are going to be solved. It's not easy, but I am saying that if you elect me in November, you will have the biggest champion for your family that you will ever imagine. Yes, Bill.
I know she has to go. She has to go, and I think your team said in a minute and a half.
Okay.
Can you please share how
Okay.
you have a question from a
No.
somebody
A minute and a half. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that you share how we can support you, what you need. How can this community help you get to where you need to get to so that we can be and have the change that's desperately needed?
Yes, thank you so much, Jill. I would love for everyone to go to debbieforflorida.com. Please support me by volunteering. Would love, any testimonials that you have, any issues that you want me to look at, what your concerns are. I'm always listening because I continue to hear the same thing. It's affordability. But if there's anything in particular that you want me to know, let me know, please. Help me volunteer. If you have people that want to support this race by making a contribution, again, go to Debbie for Florida. This is an expensive race. I've had to, work very hard to get to where I'm at. I have outraced Rick Scott every single quarter. Nobody else has been able to do that. So that's the power of hard work, right? I mean, and I don't apologize for asking for support. We need everyone supporting this race. Imagine if every Floridian gave me $1, then we would be off to the races, 20 million right there. But I'm going to have phone banks, call texting. Please remind your family and friends to make sure that they check their voter registration status. You can go to iwillvote.org, iwillvote.org. Make sure you're registered. If you want to register by mail, you need to do it. We only have 2 weeks left. There's a primary August 20th. I hope to get your support for the primary so that we can go to November and beat Rick Scott. He's never won by more than a percentage point. He only won by 10,000 votes. The Panhandle can bring me those extra 10,000 votes. Let's do this, guys.
Yeah. I want to just say thank you so very much for being with. I know we had some questions in the comments on some of our Facebook and YouTube posting as they're doing it. But for those of you all who still have questions for Debbie, we want to let you know in our viewing area on this Tuesday, July 9th at 6 o'clock, Representative Debbie McCarcel-Powell will be in Santa Rosa County at Chirps, which is a restaurant in Gulf Breeze, right across the bridge at 348 Gulf Breeze Parkway. So once you enter, if you're coming from Pensacola, it's the first light, you make a left and you will find it in the plaza there. If you are unable to make that event on Wednesday, the 10th, I'll let Jill talk about it.
On Wednesday, she will be in Okaloosa County at our DC meeting, which meets at the City Council chambers. Everybody, if you live in Niceville, it's where the police station is, fire station is, and the library. Come join us. She'll be sharing her platform with us, and we just invite you to engage. And possibly maybe what we could do with those other questions is get them to her and maybe get them back to Bill, and he might be able to shoot them back to them. Go ahead.
And
Go
on
ahead.
Thursday,
Wait, go ahead.
Thursday at CHOP, right here in Pensacola, Florida, 6400 North Old Palafox, 3 p.m. VA Roundtable. I'll be hosting it.
okay. And I was going to say on Thursday, she's going to have a busy day because you'll be in Pensacola all day then. And Thursday at 11:30, she will be at Everman Educational Center, which is 315 West Garden Street. So please make yourself available. If you can hit some or all of the events, please make sure you do so. And, I just want to say again, on behalf of our voices, we thank you for joining us. We want to be respectful of your time. Please don't let this be your last visit with us. We'd love to hear back from you as we progress any new information, or you just want to come and hang out with us. We're happy to have you there as well. So we thank you so very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good evening, everyone. And I'll see you all this week.
Yes,
I'll
this
see you
week.
all.
Take
Thank you
care.
for having me. Thank
Welcome
you,
to
Jerry.
Panhandle.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, everybody, you've gotten the opportunity to hear from. Now, this would make the third of the four Senate candidates that are running to replace Rick Scott. And so again, we want to thank Debbie McCarcel-Powell and her team for spending the evening with us. If you are interested in hearing more about her, please visit her website at www.debbieforflorida. That's debbieforflorida.com. Make sure you avail yourselves of one of the many opportunities that she will be here in the Northwest Florida Panhandle this upcoming week. If you're in Walton or Bay counties, I think she's there as well. If you have questions around those, please give one of us a call. Shoot us a message, and we'll be happy to give you the date, time, and location for those opportunities as well. But again, we want to be sure that you hear from us, our voices, and have the ability to hear from all the candidates that are looking to represent you as an individual in this next election cycle. So We thank you again, Debbie and your team for joining us. I will turn it back over to you, Mr. McIntosh.
I was reading what Rose Shelby Williams asked the
Yeah, I was
question.
going to hit her up with that.
That she believed that the Supreme Court should be expanded. And, you know I'm for one that believe that it should be expanded since we have the kind of people that we got on there. As a matter of fact, since President Biden has total immunity now, matter of fact, I would just go and just pack the courts because, I mean, there's nothing that can be done about it because he had total immunity. So pack the courts, get rid of and force these other people off the courts if it's necessary.
Well-
Make it so the environment so hostile that they would not want to stay on it.
Actually, if he loses, he can go ahead and, as an official act, declare that he's not leaving.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That
was an insane decision. Look, I will eat crow on this one, team. I said that there was absolutely no way that the Supreme Court would give that guy this type of immunity. I will eat crow. This is amazing that the courts would stoop to such a level to say that one man can do something, and just because he's the president, that gives him immunity from it, and all he has to do is call it an official act. That's abhorrent, guys.
Well,
that happened, and my mom called. And she said, "Jill, what is going on?" Like, I can feel the world. Like, I'm like, I don't know. But what she did, we had a conversation, and she absolutely a Democrat, been voting all her life, but she's in Ohio now, where they do great things, and being a Democrat is, accepted and celebrated. So she's like, I was on the corner and I was waving signs and they were beeping horns. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But anyway, I share all that to say that, we had this deep conversation, and I was like, 45 did what he did on purpose, and he's setting it all up. That if he gets in office, everything that he's written that he says he's going to do, he's going to have the Supreme Court. They're just opening that door. They're writing it for him. And when Biden wins, they're going to make his life very, 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 very difficult. That's why they were put there, and they are doing exactly what he wanted them to do. It's almost like they signed a pact with him or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'll put you there if you do this, and they are absolutely making sure that they do their part to clear the way for him, or to make Biden's life so very difficult.
Right.
And the thing about it, we're supposed to have three equal branches of government, as she talked about earlier. But it seemed like two of the branches is not functioning in the way it should to bring some checks to the Supreme Court. And the guardrails that we've talked about so often that we thought were up, and there was some moral responsibility by the courts are not there. And we see that daily by the overturning of all of these laws that we thought was cell law in the country. But we see that they are inviting people to come with these laws so they can overturn them.
Right.
Clarence call for these laws to be overturned and call for people to come to the courts to overturn these laws, him and Alito. And the rest of them are just, rubber stamping everything that they want to do and are doing. And I'm flabbergasted that someone would give total immunity while they are sitting there not realizing or don't care that, this total immunity means that I can be removed from power, or I can be, replaced. And on top of that, even if Trump wins, he would have no need for them anymore after that, because the Supreme Court would be a threat, because it still would have some constitutional power, but he would have no need for them anymore. And he would eventually get rid of them as well, because they have made them, as it's been stated early, into a king.
And they're floating to throwing out those 34 felony counts.
Yeah.
Because they say testimony that was given while he was in office, some of the stuff was testified was things that were testified of him doing his presidential acts. Man, that is crucial, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that is coming out that that's really gonna be is detrimental to this country. And it seems that people gonna just vote for him with it, without even caring what possibly could happen to them. If they decide, well, I don't want to deal with this anymore, well, you have made your bed hard right there. And you're gonna be sleeping on stones for a while, for a long time to come. Because once they get that kind of power, they never give it up. It is passed on.
Well, if he was as drunk as he was with the power and checks and balances, imagine him with absolute power. Imagine that. It's amazing how, Jerry, 8 years ago, you were saying and you were adamant about the fact that we were headed for a dictatorship. And I didn't doubt that, but man, there's no way I thought that it would be so soon.
Yeah, they've been chipping away. They say, people die from 1,000 cuts. They ain't cutting you all at once. They cutting you over a period of years. And that's how democracy dies, because they cut it up and they're chipping away at every ounce of this democracy, and they're doing it legally. It's like when they said slavery was legal, and they're doing everything they're doing now is legal. So we have to, be conscious of what is taking place, and you have to see the lines that the trajectory that we are on, and it's parallel to the Roman Empire and other places that was, Mussolini and Hitler, and right now Putin, Kim Jong-il, all of these people that Trump aligns himself with.
Right.
And so we're in trouble big time if he wins.
Right. Did you get a chance to get up to the King Center
Before we
over the
start
weekend?
going back to, before we get too far down the path of what we're doing, I did want to make sure that we covered just a couple of things for our housekeeping as we normally do. With first going through everybody should be aware that we are in the throes of hurricane season. I think we have been fortunate, and we're praying for those in Houston in that area who will be affected, or those in the path of Beryl, whatever the name of the storm is. But we still have some to go through. So make sure that we are all taking the necessary precautions to ensure our safety as we progress through this hurricane season. So that means everybody should have water, batteries, one of the weather radios, not just a radio, but the specific weather radios that are battery operated that give you the alerts as they have, just in case you are out of, I don't know what you're holding up. Is that a weather radio that we're trying to see? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was trying. I have one, but I couldn't get it to show up. But I
Yeah,
do
I was
have
like, I don't know what that is, but
one.
make sure you have
But I got it just in case.
whether foods, your non-perishables, and an exit strategy or an exit plan, an exit path, should you need to evacuate. You all know where I'm at, out here by the water. It's close. It's time to go. So when I need to know what direction the storm is coming, so I know whether I'm going east, north, or west. So everybody have their plan, and make sure that if you have to, keep your valuables, have them in a safe place. So if you need to grab the essentials of things that you need, necessary documents, please get those in order and make sure that you are prepared. And always keep your gas tank no less than half of a tank, at this point in time. Everybody should be driving around with no less than a half a tank. So, as we move forward, we can do our roundtable. We will hold the equal ground announcement and whatnot to the end of our roundtables. But I will start with Christina.
Hi, thank you so much. It was already mentioned, but I just want to put it out there again that if you wanted to come visit Debbie McCurcell-Powell in person in Santa Rosa County, that'll be on Tuesday, July 9th, starting at 6 p.m. at Chirp's Restaurant, and that's in Gulf Breeze. If you go to Mobilize, if you go on Google and you type Mobilize and you go to the search and you put in Gulf Breeze, you can RSVP there if you'd like to come out and visit, and that'll help us keep a head count as well. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bill Snow, what do you have? You shared something new with me because I think all of us are intimately aware of her schedule, and you threw something in that none of us knew about, was the Veterans Roundtable. So what else
Yes.
you have good for us?
Well, yeah, just that VA roundtable at CHOP 6400 North Old Palafox on Thursday evening around 3:00. But I just wanted to throw out the fact that I was in Atlanta the weekend, and it was my third trip to the King Center. If you have never visited the King Center, man, it is so powerful, and it stroked real, true emotions. And a lot of people live in Atlanta and has never visited the King Center. I've been there 3 times, and each time it moves me. That's all I had.
Let me go back to your thing, because you talked about it. What is CHOP? Where is it?
Community House of Prayer, 6400 North Old Palafox, aka
Oh,
CHOP.
okay. I was like, CHOP, is that a restaurant? Well, what is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a
But I
fellowship
got
hall. It's gonna be in our fellowship hall.
Okay. Great.
I'm on the board there, so I got that worked out.
All right. Ms. Cheryl, what do you have for us today?
Okay. I would just like to remind people that we are coming close to the end of being able to register to vote. So if you are not registered, please do so as soon as possible. They've made it very simple. You can scan a QR code to get registered. So yeah, do so as soon as possible. And I'd also like to announce that the campaign office for Haley Morissette is now open and ready for business. It'll be open daily, Monday through Friday, and by appointment. Wait a minute, Derek, please help me with the address.
618 North Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, Suite C. It is at the corner of Martin Luther King and Cross Street. We're in Pensacola.
Okay, yes, thank you. It's a new office, so haven't committed the address to memory just yet. But we're excited because this week we're focused on the T-shirt drive. We want everybody to order their T-shirts, come into the office, or you could text T-shirt to 850-361-3699 to order your T-shirt, Run Like Hell. So we're looking for people to volunteer, be a part of our street team, our phone banking, and canvassing. So if you are interested, and I hope that you are, this is a game changer, this race right here. So we want everybody, all hands on deck, to join us in bringing Hale to victory.
She held her own last week. We enjoyed her. Derek, excuse me, man, but I was wanting to say about Cindy Martin having that thing on August 3rd. she is watching. And Cindy, since you're watching, if you probably want to come on and explain, you know I told them on last week it's Trayvon Mothers, but I can't think of the name of the event right off the rip. But it's August 3rd. Get with me. I responded in that text, but yeah, you need to, call in. Well, you can't call in yet, but at least come on the show because you got some time before August 3rd. I'm sorry, Derek. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no, you're fine. The event is called Connecting the Chains.
There you go.
And you give me a second, I will put it up on the screen
Nice.
from there. Cheryl, did you have anything else or was that it?
That is it. Not just yet. I also want to encourage people to support Haley Morris's campaign by volunteering, sending in a donation, or hosting a fundraiser. So Derek is sharing information right there, but you can support the campaign in a couple of ways. We always need volunteers. We'll always need financial donations, and it'll be great to have you to host a fundraiser, a digital fundraiser or a small gathering at your home or an event space, and our team will help you put that together. Just reach out to www.votemorissette.com, and that is 2 R's, 2 S's, 2 T's.
All right. Well, thank you for that. All right, Mr. McIntosh, what do you have? Oh, sorry. Cheryl.
No, you were going to show everybody the flyer that Bill said, and you forgot.
Go ahead.
You go
No,
next.
I got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jill. I wasn't going to, hey, he's having no, I'm not going to even go there.
Well, I figured he would go into himself because since he's talking, you could just do all your stuff right now. So
Okay, well, that's what I was trying to get Mr. McIntosh to go, so I had some time, but all right, thank you for doing that. Let me pull it up here for you so everybody can see it. So as we know, as Bill just said, Cindy Martin is having an event which is going to take place coming up here as soon as I can get it up.
August 3rd, Saturday, 6:00 p.m.
And there it is. So let me put it up for those of you all who are with us. It's Connecting the Chains. Don't be the missing link. It is going to be, as Bill said, Saturday, August the 3rd from 6 to 8:30 p.m. with keynote speaker Sabrina Fulton. It is going to be at the Community Center, Brownsville, which is 3200 West DeSoto Street. Doors open at 5:30 p.m. You have questions about it, please reach out to the telephone number on your screen, which I can't see. My thing is blocking it, so
221-8467. 221-8467.
Yes, it is a ticketed event. It is a ticketed event, so please make sure you go into Eventbrite and get your tickets now. You can go to it and type in Connecting the Chains, or you can go using the website that is provided below at bit.ly/chains with a Z. That's bit.ly/chains with a Z. As we continue on down this path, just to keep us in the spirit of what we are talking about, as Cheryl said, we have a couple of things that are coming up. As she mentioned, the last day to register to vote in the primary election is July the 22nd. Please make sure that you avail yourself of that time. And then we've got, again, if you, we don't want anybody to miss, but if you miss that, you still have through October the 7th to register to vote in the general election. We know that a lot of the races are covered in the primary and a lot of your local races. So you want to make sure that you're registered to vote prior to that date. And that, again, is July the 22nd. As we move forward in Escambia County on Sunday, July the 21st, the Escambia Democratic Party will be having a summer fundraiser where we will be selling turkey legs, hamburgers, hot dogs, cheeseburgers, sides, and a drink. Please make sure you come out and support that event. Come out and purchase your choice of hamburger or cheeseburger or hot dog, cheeseburger and hot dog, or turkey leg, or you can get both for a different price. We will have those available, and that is going to be on the 21st from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And again, that is going to be at the Escambia Democratic Party headquarters, which is located at 2618 North Martin Luther King Drive. If you are wondering why that address sounds familiar, we are a Suite A of the 3-office suite that is shared now with the campaign for Haley Morissette from Florida State House District 2. So come out and join us. You'll also be able to meet our candidates. They'll be there as well. So come out, get some food, and that is going to be on Sunday, the 21st from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Again, all the funds that we raise at this event will go back into making sure we support our candidates, getting literature out regarding their campaigns, billboards, because it is going to be, as Debbie said, important that we come out in mass to make sure that we see the change we so desperately need in Northwest Florida. I know I took the phrase, so we'll leave it at that. Mr. McIntosh, what do you have for us?
I want to say one thing. My family reunion was this week, and this just want to, I know some of them are watching. We just want to say we had a great time. I did get a chance to go to by the King's house, the original where he was born at. I didn't get a chance to go by the King's Center yet, but my next trip will definitely take me to the King's Center. I hate this time I didn't get a chance to go because we had planned, but it rained just about every day. We went in Atlanta.
It did.
This time around, so we kind of stayed near the house and under the tents and stuff, so that we didn't get too drenched. But that was it. Also, want to talk a little bit about the Carol McIntosh Education Initiative. This is it for those who are here in Escambia County. This initiative is for students who are struggling in school. It's for parents and teachers and school administrators to work together and community organization and law enforcement to make sure that our children get the best quality of education that they possibly can get. So we are still everything is already in place. It's just a matter now that this will be implemented for the 24-25 year that's coming up. Carol was a crusader for education. So over the next years, we're going to see how everything turn out. But it's for struggling schools in our community to make sure that our children and generation yet unborn would have the best quality of education they possibly can get. But if we don't vote this year, we may not have an educational system for public schools if we don't vote, because there are those who are insistent, and we have to be just as tenacious as they are against education. We have to be that force for education, because education has been the key in a lot of instances. It's not the panacea, but it's the key to getting us to a lot of places that we need to go. And so there are those who are insisted on destroying and overturning everything that was gained in the 20th century. they are trying to overturn it. And they have the court to do it. They have the Supreme Court who are willing to overturn everything and says so out loud. They're not, they're not saying it. They are saying it out loud and doing it. That's the thing about it. They're putting action to their word. And so we have to do the same thing in order to make sure that we have public schools available for our children and that we don't have to pay for our children to go to school. Like in some countries, they have to pay or they don't get education. And so, and most of us cannot afford the kind of money that it would take to get a decent education in the country. Each year you got to put up $6,000 or $8,000 or $10,000. That's quite a bit of money. That's like half of some people's salary that year. So we have to make sure that we are engaged and involved in this thing to make sure that we get the best quality education for our children that we possibly can. I'm good then.
All right. Last but not least, that'd be Jill.
Hello, everyone. So I guess I will go over, as we stated earlier, Representative Debbie McCarsell Powell will be in Okaloosa County on Wednesday, the 10th. The schedule's kind of fluctuating, but what we know for sure, there is a group meeting that's a private meeting, but we do have the mayor of Crestview coming. We do have the NAACP coming. We do have pastors coming. We do have some Divine Nine coming. So that meeting, she's having with groups of people that she normally would not get to. And then she will be at the Okaloosa DEC meeting. Our time has changed this week to accommodate the schedule. So we will meet at 6 o'clock at the Niceville City Hall. It's at 208 Parton Drive North. Like I said, if you live in Niceville, you know, because the fire department's there, the police department's there, the library's there, where they do all the lights. The park is there. It is, I guess, downtown Niceville, I guess. If we have a downtown, we're going to call it our downtown. And we would love for you to join us. You don't have to be a part of the DEC. We are inviting all of Okaloosa County to come in and hear one of our senator candidates so that you get the opportunity. We have to make a choice. We have to make a decision. As everyone has said, it's important and critical that we put the right person in office, but that we also register, vote, and activate that energy and that decision. This is an opportunity for us to vote locally. There are a lot of local elections that are taking place in August, and we don't want to sit it out. I will also say there are some strategic things that we can do specifically in Okaloosa. I can't speak for everybody else because there are some elections that normally wouldn't be open to us, but since we don't have a Democrat or an NPA running, those elections are open. So we have the opportunity to choose the best person that will represent everybody, even though they might not be a Democrat or an NPA. And so you can strategically do that if you can figure out who you guys want to vote for, and then we all go out and vote. I don't want to say much more because I don't want to throw the other side into the no, but just be looking at that in every single county because there are opportunities and we should absolutely engage in those opportunities. A nice win for us undercover would be fabulous. And no, you don't have to change your party to do so. It is an open primary now, so you can stay whatever you are, Democrat, Republican, or NPA, and vote accordingly. What else is going on in Okaloosa County? Of course, our DC and other environmental caucus and Black caucus, we are always asking people to join us, to write back postcards, make phone calls, anything we can do to engage our community. We're going to have to do something different, as I'm sure we're going to be talking soon about everything that's in the news. There's so much buzz out there that if we're not actively doing what we need to do, they might accidentally get a CNN news breaking news 2 hours ago and think that we're in more trouble than we are. And the way to stop trouble is to do something about it. And the way to do something about it is to register to get educated and to vote. I think that's all I have for now. I think Derek's going to go over Equal Ground, who will be coming on Saturday, July 13th. And I think he's going to throw up the flyer.
No, you can go ahead. I was leaving
Okay, okay. So Equal Ground, last year they were in Escambia County. You guys might remember we had about 100 people come out, and I think some people that weren't as acclimated to them were very, very impressed. They're very well put together. They go over the legislative session that just passed. They give you what bills passed, what information you need to know, what to look for going forward, and they usually will invite us to their day on the Hill. So this year, our legislative session is in Santa Rosa County. We move each year county to county. Next year, it will be in Okaloosa County. So yes, Christina and Sandy and all of the wonderful leaders in Santa Rosa. Want to give a shout out to Elaine and Desi, who helped find the location. They are working to make sure that we have the location, and then all of these partners and more that you see on the screen have come together and said, hey, we're supporting, we're working together. We want to make sure this happens. They will be at the Heart of God Ministries at 6151 Dogwood Drive. Doors open at 8:30. We will be giving you breakfast. The program with Equal Ground starts at 10 o'clock. It will go until about 12. And then we will transition back over and we will have a lunch for you. And then after that, we are doing a strategic education voter summit. I don't know what the real name is, but that's what it is. So Derek can fix that because I can't remember exactly what we called it. But it is an opportunity because we already have you there and because we're going to have so many partners together in one room. We wanted to make sure that we go over all of the information that you might need, give you candidates, give you information on the amendments and so much more. So please, please join us. You won't be disappointed. Like I said, Equal Ground is just an organization that really breaks it down layman's terms. So if you don't know anything about the legislative session, when you leave, you will feel like you can go and share with your family and friends. It's almost like going to school, but it's fun. And then, like we said, a lot of your leaders and the people that have sponsored this are going to come together, and we're going to give you 2 hours of just an extra energy push, lots of information, candidates, just really get you ready for these last couple of weeks before we vote in August. And so I would just truly encourage everyone across our listening area. That's 3 different counties. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to fill this location again with another 100 people or more. And we just want to say thank you. We look forward to seeing you, and we'll be feeding you breakfast and lunch. So come ready, come hungry, but come hungry not just for food, come hungry for information, for knowledge, and for education so that you can make the best choice when you're voting in August. Thank you so much.
All right, that concludes our roundtable. So I guess we will get back into the meat of it. Mr. McIntosh, we've seen a debate. We've seen America's response to the debate. We have seen President Biden's response to America's response to the debate. Where do you think we go from here?
I think the Democrats need.
Oh, sorry. I see Jill's finger up real fast.
And then we
Okay,
just saw some of the leadership's response to his response. So that
Yeah.
just came out 2 hours ago. So there's lots
Yeah.
of responses. So Jerry and
Here
then
comes
Bill.
the main response.
First Jerry, and then we'll get Bill's prediction. And then I'm sure Christina will come in and make us all get back on the Biden wagon.
Here come the real response. Go ahead, Dr. Jerry.
But you can't make us get back on the Biden wagon because we're on the Biden.
We are, but our listeners might not be.
Yes.
So we have to
They ain't
remember,
going
we're
nowhere.
not talking to each other. I'm talking to our listeners.
Yeah.
Our listeners ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I want to say those Democrats who are just whining and grinding and carrying on need to shut up, because we have a candidate, and under that candidate we have a vice president, and under that vice president we have a cabinet of people with knowledge of everything that's going on in position of authority, that has been availed to them through the presidency of through the president himself, uh, by appointing some of the best people in the world to his cabinet to carry out the job that need to be done. And so instead of running around talking about we need to have meetings on this and do we need to replace Joe Biden? No, you haven't called one time for the replacement of Donald Trump, who is a felon and a rapist and everything else you can think of, a fraud and an abuser and a bully on the American scene. But a man with some decency, you want to remove him because you're afraid that if something happened to him, you're going to have a black woman as the standard bearer for America. And that's the whole crust behind some of these misogynist Democrats. And I'm going to call them out because that's who they are, many of them. Other than that, the Republicans are sitting back watching us eat each other, alive. And they are not deviating from what they have talked about, what they intend to do. They intend to put Trump there so they can, have minority rule for years to come. And that's the whole goal, that nobody else will have any access to the political power, the strings of political power in this country. And so it is up to us to shut them down and to say whatever need to be said to make sure that we win this election. Because if we do not, what good would it do? What good is it going to be able to vote in this country, or to not vote? Because you won't have that opportunity anymore. Because they already told you what they're going to do. They already have told you they intend to deport people out of this country, and they didn't specify exactly who they were talking about, as far as deportation out of the country. So we have to be just as vigilant in making sure that we elect the right people to office, whether it's and that's from the school board to the presidency, whether it's state legislators, whether it's state senators, whether it's U.S. senators, whether they're Congress people and the congressional delegation that we need in the state of Florida and every state in the country. We need good people that's going to be concerned more about the people than they are about their pocketbook and the lobbyists. And then we need a media that's really concerned about the American people, because the media is supposed to be the fourth estate, to inform people so that they can make the best informed decision that they are privy to. The media is has the first seat to history. And if they're not using that properly, and the only thing they can talk about is Donald Trump and Joe Biden's age, who all of us if we live that long, gonna make it to that age, and hopefully we be in our right mind. It seems like to me he's in his right mind. So you might, you're gonna get slower as you get older. But that's why you surround yourself with the best minds in the country. That's why you get the best vice president in the country, who is Kamala Harris. And, you got folks out there, I don't think she can handle it. What you mean? She already handling it. She's already handling things. You're just behind the scenes, but she's handling it. As the vice president, she's in all the meetings. She's at the table with the president. She knows what's going on. She knows who the players are. She knows who the generals are. She knows who the cabinet members are. So what's the deal? And you got some of our own people running around talking about, I don't think she can handle the job. Well, it's women's been handling the presidency for years in other countries, except here in America. And I'll get off my soapbox.
No, no, no. You're on point, especially when you speak of the media, Jerry, because they are perpetuating this foolishness, man. The Dems that are speaking out, the 4 or 5, ought to be ashamed of themselves. But the media is perpetuating this. 8 days later, for this to be a headline in the news cycle is a travesty. Mitch McConnell froze up for 4 or 5 minutes at a time, was comatose, and 3 days later it was out of the news cycle, and none of the Republicans called for his head on a platter. So the media is definitely I thought it was the right wing, but you corrected me, and I've been watching, and you are absolutely right. It's not just the right wing, it's the media, because that's who they want. But I am 62, and I promise you at 60 I was having brain farts, and I have them right now on this show when I lose my train of thought. So that's human. With all of the pressure that was on our guy, also, and his people drove him too doggone hard, getting him ready when it did not take all that. Biden knows the numbers, he knows the job, and they did not allow him the proper rest. It was indicative in the way he spoke. He had been practiced till he was hoarse. Then they come with this big lie he had a cold, when the next day his voice was as strong as it could be. So it's the media that's perpetuating this their narrative, but we've got to be wiser and see through it. And Kamala did. That was a beautiful move that they made this weekend by her showing up over there at the Essence Festival. She is the next person in line, and you're exactly right. That is the elephant in the room, bro, Jerry.
Question for you all, we talk about it, but there was rumor and there was exploratory to look at, we talk about they don't want Vice President Kamala Harris, and I would agree with you, but they've had exploratory conversations to replace Biden with former First Lady Michelle Obama. Would you then support that move, or would you still say we riding with Biden?
That I would say, that's just what it is. They're exploring something.
Mm-hmm.
They know, and as well as we know, that Michelle Obama is not going to take the presidency of the United States.
Right.
I would love to see her take it. I would love to see her and or her and Kamala Harris, either one of them, become president of the United States, because they are both brilliant people. They are not. They have the acromens to do what need to be done to carry this country forward. It is a play on words, really, to me, when we ought to be seriously addressing the issue of whether we're going to save this democracy or not. And how do you save it? You save it by electing the President Biden again to the White House, along with our Vice President Kamala Harris, along with his cabinet, his advisors. That's some of them may need to go. Some of the advisors, I would say, but because I said at the very beginning, he should never have given Trump a platform. You know he gonna lie. You know he gonna try to be a bully. You
That's
know
right.
this fraud is, and that's what he did. He will lie continuously and never answer a question. But they're running around talking about Joe Biden need to be removed. But you haven't said one thing about a lying thief and rapist and everything you can possibly think of. Nothing has been said. No one asked him to step aside, and that's unfortunate. So, Jill, let's hear your opinion.
So here's the first thing I want to say to our viewing audience, not to y'all. The debate was horrific. So we have to be honest. Christina, take a deep breath. It was. It is not what we expected. It's not what we wanted. It's not, he will tell you, his team will tell you, we're being honest with you. We watched what you watched. However, as bad as it might have seemed, Trump was so much worse with his lies. And so part of that was that you got to absolutely see that Trump told you that he's getting rid of all the immigrants. He's going to give the Black and brown community their new Black jobs and their Hispanic jobs. And those are going to be the jobs the immigrants are doing right now because he's sending them away. He also told you that he cleaned water. He also told you he saved you from COVID, I guess, by drinking bleach. There's a whole bunch of stuff that he said, and he's going to continue to say that. So the first thing is, we just want to be honest. We saw what you saw, but then now we're giving you truth. The first part, Jerry, you're correct. But remember, the reason they're not asking Trump to leave is because Republicans run in a whole different world. When they're in on their person, they're in. He could go blow up, I don't know what, and they still would be in. They're never going to do what we're doing right now, which is Biden okay? Is Biden not okay? Do we need to get somebody else or don't we need to get somebody else? Can Kamala handle it? Can she not? Is Michelle Obama, first of all, Obama, I don't believe would ever let Michelle go through what he just went through. That took years out of their marriage and life. She is phenomenal, drop the mic, but never would he allow that to happen to their family. So she's off the plate anyway. Then you have Biden, and yes, unfortunately, even Hakeem Jeffries just had a meeting today, and there are several of the people on the floor in the Democratic Party that are still questioning it. And so why is it in the media? It's in the media because the Democrats are still doing what we're doing. So you can't always blame the media for what we're doing. They just had the phone call 3 hours ago. 3 hours ago, Democrats are still trying to figure out, and I'm sharing stuff just so that they know. So we've got to get our stuff together. Here's the thing. This is my own, picking off all my hats. This is what I think. If you go August 20th to Chicago, and they put on the floor, which could happen, that they want somebody else, it's going to break the party. And if that someone else is not Kamala Harris, you have lost the Black and brown vote. So we lose. So if it's not Biden, we lose. If you try to not make it Kamala, we lose. You may as well just stay with Biden, ride with him until the very end, make sure he wins, because we have the power to make sure he wins. Once we get over, yeah, you know what? It was a bad debate. The next day he was phenomenal. Get over it. Now, I would question, he's going to do another one. Christina educated us. Guess there's another one scheduled in September, and then there's another one after that. So what I would say to his team, I'm with you, Bill. I think I would say either don't do it or give him the out. If the other 45 isn't going to answer questions, then don't answer any questions and just say, you're talking about my son. He was convicted. You are convicted 34, 36, 500 times. Are you going to go to jail? What are you going to do about this? And just throw it all back on him if they choose for him to have another debate. If that's where they're at, I think that might change as they go through. But also, it's almost like he needs to do one more so that everybody can see that the Biden that it is. But we don't make that decision. His team does, and politics does. So what I would say, and I see your hand, Bill, is our job is to continue to do what we're doing, which is work on the ground, get educated, get out there, register voters, be engaged, and vote. Vote for the party who is going to make sure that you don't lose everything. That's going to make sure that you can keep the job you have and not create a new job for you. Who's not going to tell you that COVID wasn't real and that millions of people didn't really die. That's what we're saying, that everything else is not really on the table. It's only on the table because somebody had a bad day. We all have bad days. Might have been the wrong time to have a bad day, but we don't get to choose them. They just happen. Go ahead, Bill.
He's got to do the second one. He's got to do it. He's got to do the second one. But the thing about it is he can do it. He can do it. The guy that we got was so tired. I'm telling you, man, that out the gate was it. He was tired and his voice showed it. Biden can spank Trump even in a debate, but Biden has to be careful that if he loses his train of thought, to just say, hey, I lost my train of thought, but you got to acknowledge that part of it. But now, if we don't debate him, we lose for certain, because then we're scared, we're afraid. And look, they've agreed to it, Cheryl, you got it? And because we got spanked the first time, they're going to say, if we don't do this next one, but we should not fear the next one. Biden can handle Trump in a debate. He's more intelligent. He's more articulate. He just stutters. And there was a lot of pressure on, man, for that first one, but he's ready for a rematch. I promise you.
Yeah, I want to go to
Go ahead,
Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Before you do, I just want to I want to clean up something you just said, because I don't think that we were spanked. I think that Biden had a bad night. Spank to me implies that Trump just obliterated him on the policy and things of that nature.
I can go with that.
I
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. It was a bad choice of
Yeah,
words,
it
but
was-
we
yeah.
all, Jill put it perfectly. We
Yeah.
know it was
Yeah.
terrible.
Bad
Spank
night.
you're right, because this liar, you're right, man. Thank you.
Cheryl, go ahead.
Okay, so for me, the question isn't whether or not he can do it. We all know that he has the ability to debate, but why should he? He is legitimizing someone who should not be legitimized. And, you know, whether you think about people saying that he's scared or whatever, so what? You know, we could change the narrative. The campaign can change the narrative. It's not about being scared. It's about having more important things to do, like run the country, something that the previous guy doesn't know anything about. So I have that to say, and also to Democrats. We have who we have. We need to fall in line, and we need to support who our candidate is. Because at this point, I'm with Bill Mayer, who says that it could be a head floating around in blue liquid. I'm voting for that before I vote for 45. We have a candidate we know is capable, we know can do the job. Let's highlight what he's done in the last 4 years and leave the age and the other things and the mishap from the debate. Let's leave that in the past and just continue to speak on his record and what he can do for us for the next 4 years.
Agree.
I like that thought.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Patricia Turner Jefferson is she talking about the repugnant what they are trying to do to Kamala Harris and trying to already destroy her credibility as a probably I'm just throwing some words in here as the standard bearer for the Democrat Party. So they're going after her already. And I had read that other day when I was in Atlanta that they was already getting ready to launch an all-out attack on her and just in case if President Biden step aside, they would have to elevate her more or less, more than likely. And so I'm doubting very seriously if President Biden steps aside because it would cause chaos in the Democrat Party, extreme chaos, and you would let this existential threat that's out there walk right into the White House and destroy the Constitution, which has need to be redone in some way, or I would say amended in some ways to make sure that it is no one is able to destroy the Constitution. And some loopholes in the Constitution need to be, removed, such as the 13th Amendment. That loophole need to be closed in the Constitution. But when a man say that the Constitution is in his way, that he wants absolute power like Putin and Kim Jong-il and China president. And he said this out of his own mouth. It's not nothing that we're saying. So we have to make sure that we see this for what it is and see that sometime, he had a bad night. President Obama had a bad night when he debated Mitt Romney.
That's
But
right.
he came back, had a great night, and won the election
That's
for the
right.
second.
Patricia
Biden.
Patricia Turner Jefferson on our Facebook stream. Our Facebook stream is hot tonight. One performance doesn't make Joe Biden incapable of continuing to safeguard our democracy. She's absolutely right, meaning Cheryl. She's absolutely right about the Democratic reaction and continuing dialogue about the debate. She goes on to say, I don't agree that he should debate again, but make sure there is a fact check at the same time. Then Miss Diane Pruitt says, I agree with you, Derek. But then Miss Turner Jefferson comes back and says, I agree with Cheryl. Why give credence to a convicted grifter on our live Facebook stream?
So unfortunately, we don't make that decision. The powers that be make that decision, and I would say I don't see, it's never happened before, so I don't see it, them canceling the debate. That's the best I can say, because it's already scheduled, it's already out there. I don't think they want to create, and Cheryl, I don't disagree with you, but if there are, I think it's hard for me because I'm looking at somebody like Leader Jeffries, who said, you know what, I'm going to listen to the people, which is his job. He has to. So he opened that door today and said, hey, we're going to have this conversation. We've got to have our hard conversation. That's what we're doing on the show. We're having a hard conversation. So you got to be honest. He was honest. Yeah, I saw what you saw. Tell me how you feel. Some of them said this. Some of them said this. He didn't say anything. He stayed neutral. And he said, we'll address it and see. They did not decide one way or the other. I think we have to be real with our people. Like, some of us are ride or die no matter what, because we get the bigger picture. Some of us are, okay, well, Cheryl said do it, I'm going to do it because I know Cheryl, and so I believe in Cheryl, I'm doing it. And then others are sitting back and they're watching the TV, or they watch the debate, or they're listening to the news. But I think what hurts us the most is that our own people high up in the party, they're questioning it. So you can't negate it, because people that sit with him every day are questioning it. So they need to fix their mess quickly, because they're hurting us. It's not now what Biden did at the debate. It's the fact that all of these governors and legislators and people in the White House are now questioning, is he, can he, what should we do? You don't have a choice. There's no other choice. At this point, the election is less, ballots have already dropped. We're done with this. He is who we have. Kamala is his vice. We're moving forward. But the problem is, we can say that, but it's very difficult, because there's a side of me going, what in the world are they doing today? We have the meeting, but really, at the end, at some point, Democrats, we got to clean our mess up, because we're watching you, and the news is absolutely happy to tell us everything that happens behind closed doors.
Yes.
Absolutely happy to start the mess, so that those that aren't all the way in are like, so, well, if that's the case, how come so-and-so said this? How come the majority, and that was the report, said that he needed to go? You know what I mean? What do we do with that? How do we stop them from hurting him? Because he's no longer hurting himself. He came out the next day and fixed all that quickly.
And the thing about it, what we said earlier, one man do not run this country. He's the face of America. He's the commander in chief. But the laws that are grinding out in Congress and in the Senate is done underneath him. And he signs bills that Congress pushed to him, or he vetoed. But he don't make the laws of this country. He's just one part of the three equal branches of government, which is people now have, the Supreme Court has amassed or taken X amount of power from the executive branch to put in their little fiefdom. So it's now time that the American people take back the courts, or put term limits on the courts so that no one sit there 40, 50, 60 years, like in South Africa. You got to you after 15 years you have to go, or you can be reappointed to the Supreme Court. But here, you appoint somebody at 30 and have a lifetime seat on the court. It used to be that these people that were judges for many years, and the reason they gave them lifetime appointments, they would give them to most of them, they was in their 60s, something of that nature, or late 50s. That's why they had lifetime appointments. But now they're appointing people at 30 and 40 years old. That's too long to be sitting on the Supreme Court, because you done wrap yourself in the ideology rather than in the laws and the benefit for the people of this country.
So my take on it is right now, Biden is the nominee. For all those who are Democratic and speaking out against them, I'm really upset and furious about this for a number of reasons. One is so many of them have their own agendas, but none of those agendas, if you took potentially replacing Joe Biden, there is no way you would get any candidate on every single ballot across these United States. We have too much at stake. So, after the debate, I wasn't mad at Joe Biden. I wasn't mad at Joe Biden at all. I was mad at the man who was our former president, who stood up there and told over 50 lies in a 90-minute debate. And then all of it came back to Joe Biden. Over 50 lies. He said Charlottesville didn't happen.
Yeah.
He didn't witness that.
Yeah.
I look at what President Biden, what Vice President Harris have done, and I listened to their promises when they were elected, and I have seen them fight and fight and fight for everything from us, trying to do away with student loans, and every single obstruction, keep fighting back. Every single time. And the conversation after the debate is because he stuttered and lost his train of thought, not the xenophobia, not me having to go back to my black job tomorrow. Not this horrible, 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 horrible mess that we just heard and listened to. But oh my God, this man lost his train of thought. This other man told 50 lies in 90 minutes. Joe Biden is our nominee, and I'm proud to stand by him. Vice President Harris is amazing, and I am so proud of this administration and all they have accomplished and continue to accomplish. So that 90-minute debate isn't going to interrupt the 3 years of progress that they have made, that this administration has made. And I will say this, after that Supreme Court decision just came out, the fact that so many are still having this conversation is irritating. It is so irritating because it's now life or death, and it has been life or death. We are all concerned about what Trump is going to do should he get into power. We don't have those same fears, those same concerns if Biden stays in power. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, there is no way for, if a nominee were to change to be on the ballot for all 50 states, there is no reason for us to sit here and apologize for Joe Biden's what happened on the debate stage. Joe Biden has never been a great speaker ever. And he's only going to get older. That's going to continue. What we did see clearly and plainly on display was how horrible and how different the view is from this other man. This other man who is vying for power, this other man who, we've talked about Project 2025 over and over. The Supreme Court just opened the door for it. So that's where I am. And I'm riding with Biden. I've been riding with Biden. And it is so important. Please go online, double check your voter registration. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure your friends are registered to vote, because we have the fight of our lives. And if the person at the top maybe, stumbles or stutters, that's where we need to come back and speak as clearly and definitively as we can for what is at stake. That is where we come in. We are the they. And for others who are speaking, I truly, truly, truly wonder what their alternatives are, what they're standing behind. Because we have so much at stake right now. Too much at stake. And yeah, I'm riding with Biden and Vice President Harris, because we've got it together. We've had it together for 3 years, and 90 minutes isn't going to interrupt that. That's where I'm at.
Miss Turner Jefferson on our Facebook stream says, what if the lies are a reflection of his age issues? She says, I'm using this platform to spread my message and to track the thoughts of others. The Biden supporters are standing firm on social media, and that's what I've been seeing too. And when I'm in a room with a bunch of us, I test the waters, and I don't ask them. I tell them, y'all, we got to vote for Biden. I've been in 2 different scenarios with a bunch of people since that. And in that time politics remotely come up, I, with this voice, make sure everybody listens to it. But the consensus I'm getting is not just on social media. From the rooms that I've worked, they're standing strong with Biden regardless. So, hey, I think we're in good shape if the Democrats up there would stop talking crazy.
Can we get back to airing our grievances amongst ourselves and out in public having a united front?
There you go. There you go. What goes on in this house, stay in this house. My mama would have broke out neck. Go outside talking business up in this house. But you're right, Cheryl.
I agree with that to a certain degree. I think there's some stuff, not this situation, but I don't agree with all things. Conversation need to be had among closed doors or behind in public. Sometimes, like when you have people doing ridiculous things that are trying to do things sneakily and under the dark and under the covers and in the dark, you need to call them out in public.
Right, but disagreements
after
like
you
this one,
checked
though.
it in private.
Whole different ballgame.
Sometimes you can't check stuff in private. Like I'll use an example for. I'll just say this because we talked about it last. I think that people should be talking about the fact that's Women Against Gays, and that should be discussed publicly. It shouldn't be discussed privately, because publicly people gave money to it. So why are they not using that money for a woman who's running against gays? I would even take it a step further. Another woman who's running against Daddy Gates. Now, though I'm sure when the PAC was created, they didn't think there were 2 Gates that were going to be at the ballot. But still, there are women running against Gates that public people, men, women, and those alike, paid for a PAC that the person over the PAC don't give a damn about, because they holding on the money for something else. That's a problem to me. That should be discussed publicly. That also, there should be times where people who pledge money to candidates, I have all this money for a candidate, and they ain't giving not a dime, nickel, quarter, penny, half a cent, not nothing. Those things need to be discussed publicly, especially when those said people hold office or titles within a party and a platform. They absolutely should be discussed publicly. So I agree with you on those things. Where we should be having this conversation with respect to Biden, in this conversation amongst ourselves and not publicly. But there are some where I'm like, nah, let's have it publicly, because they need to be held publicly accountable.
Absolutely.
And we should name those folks and call them out for it. And hold them accountable, because when we talk about accountability, that's from the smallest position all the way up to the presidency, and from the presidency on down to the smallest position. So
That's right.
yes, we definitely need to do that.
There you go. Mr. McIntosh, go ahead.
Negro, this is for human consumption and homoeroticism within the slave culture. This book I'm recommending that I won't
Numbers,
recommend.
we can't hear you.
Time is up. It's 9 o'clock already. So I just wanted to make sure we got that in. It's by Vince Woodward. So,
Okay.
all right. We Derek, back
No,
to you.
well, we're severely out of time, so we will see you at our next go around of Our Voices. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great week, everybody. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.